So I'm going to show you how to make custom models for MeecheenMe, but if you didn't set up yet, check out the setup video and then come back to create your own custom model and not use an existing model. You can do so by going, first get rid of the default visuals, hold shift and click that TV icon, then hold shift and click the TV icon of the custom visuals. There'll be nothing there, but you could click, let's say you want to work on the body, you can click away, just create mesh cube. You could do it that way, and then after you create it, you could hold control, click the body, hold control, click J, and it'll be a part of the body. Alternatively, you can just click the body, go into edit mode, and then add it through here. And you could scale it down, move it to where the body is, and start modeling your own custom stuff. Once you're done doing all your body parts, you could go into vertex paint and paint it. You could, for example, if I want this to be blue, I could do paint, set vertex colors, it will set everything to blue. And I could start, painting in red. Now you'll notice I don't have that much detail. There's not that many vertices to paint. So if I want, I would have to go to edit mode and go into, I'll select all, go to edge, subdivide, do it again. I'll do Alt H just so I get a better reading down here of what I actually have. Let's see if I could subdivide again. That's too many, so I'll just stick with this. And I'll go to vertex paint, and now when I try to paint, I'll be able to paint in more areas. I could go over here, go to vertex just so I can see my vertex colors. Hit Alt H just to bring everything back. Keep in mind that when you're working on your custom models, do not rename these and do not move these. If you click this and you move it, you're gonna have to zero it out, or else it's not gonna look right. In game, it's gonna be as if it wasn't moved. So if you want to move it, you have to go into edit mode, hit A, so you select everything and then move it. Now, when you make your custom stuff, you need to make sure that the triangle count is low. Try to stay to 333 or less. And you need to also make sure you don't go past the max bounds. I'm holding shift and pressing the TV so I could see them. Each piece has its own max bound. If you want to see individually, then I could hold shift just to get rid of that. I'll press it once without shift, and then I could check each individually to know the max bound of each body piece. So the head can be this big. It's pretty big, a lot of room to make your custom stuff. But if it goes past it, then it's not gonna work. So once you have whatever you want to make done, you don't have to make the whole body. If you just want to make a custom body or a custom head, custom hand, you can just do that. You don't have to make the whole set. So let's say I just want to make this body. I can do file. I'll first select it. It's good practice to select hierarchy just so I'm only exporting this. Export, FBX, make sure selected objects. Apply scaling, FBX all. Armature, Z-axis for the primary bone axis. And I'm just going to export it here. I'll name it just blue body. I'll export it. I'll go into where the folder is, just blue bodies here. I'll drag it into Unity, to assets. Now it'll give these warnings whenever you import not the full set, because the other pieces are basically invisible and Unity is complaining. You could ignore that though. You go to, when you import it, it might be look like the rotation is wrong. It's fine. You don't have to do this, but if you want to visualize it here, you do that fix rig and it should fix it. But you don't have to do that. So you just go to Tools, Play Custom Things, Create Window, drag it into here, the custom body slot, set body. We only have the body set, so it'll only set the body. Save. I'll save it to where I have it in my models. Custom, blocky. I'll save it here. I'm going to make a folder. It's important to make a folder. Name it what you want it to be named in game. So I'll name it blue body. Select folder. And I got no warning, so it should be good. Now I could bring this whole thing in, but since it's just a body piece, it's just a body set, so I don't need to have the set here. The folder names depend on how it's going to be shown in game. So I don't want to be part of the set when I search for sets. If you do want it to be part of the sets, it's fine if you want to be part of the sets, but I just want to be part of the body set. So I'm actually just going to cut this out, and I'm going to paste it here. I'm going to delete everything else, delete that set. So I just have the body set now. I'll copy this. I'll go into my folder, my MeecheenMe folder. If you don't have this folder here in your documents, start up the game once and then it should create everything in case you're missing any folders. Custom, model, and I'll paste it in here. Once it's in here, if your game is already running, that's fine. You don't have to restart your game. But I'm going to start up the game. Go to me. And here it is in the body section. Here's the blue body. Put it on, and there it is. So making the custom model yourself is overall easy, but actually making it, going in the edit mode and making something that looks good, that's the difficult part, but that's just how it is. So I'm going to go into detail, a lot more detail, in creating a custom model with taking in an already made model and breaking it apart and setting it up to work in game. So I'm going to import the model that we saved, that we got from Mixamo. So the model came in like this. I'm going to bring it down on the Z just so it's lined up. You might have to scale the model. You can go to the scale tool. Right now they put the model in the default visuals. If it does that, just click it, press M, and click Scene Collection, just so it moves out of there into here. You can scale it however you need to make it fit. An easier way to scale it is just pressing S. With the model selected, press S, and that'll scale it too. But it's pretty much aligned. We do have to move it a little back or a little forward, just so the arms are matched up. And you can see that the arms and legs are going to have some trouble matching up completely. So I'll try to get the best I could. There is a different way you could handle this. I'm going to just hide my model. I'm holding shift and I'm pressing this screen. And one way to bend your model, you can add a mesh, a cube. I'm going to hit Alt Z just to make things see-through, and I could scale it down, and I'm going to make sure everything is inside the box. I'm going to go into edit mode. I'm going to have edges. I'm going to add some edges by hitting Control R. but I actually want it over here. I'm going to use my scroll just to add more. Now I'm going to left click, I'll left click again. And now I have some, these are going to be the points that I could bend the model. We get out of edit mode. I'm going to click the actual mesh of the model. In the modifiers tab, which is a little wrench, I'm going to add mesh deform. We set the object to the cube. And I'm going to click bind. And this might take a while. Once it's done, you can go into edit mode of the cube, and you'll notice I'm going to hold Alt and click so that it selects the whole edge. And when I move, it'll deform the whole model. So you could use this as a way to kind of curve the body in a way that you would prefer. But in our case, since the model's pretty good, I'm not going to worry about it. So I'm going to unbind it. I'm going to remove it, delete the cube, and show our model back. Pretty much aligned. So now I'm going to bake the texture into vertex colors. So if you go into this little tab here, hit vertex, or first you could click this material, this other more material button, and you'll see the actual texture. You can get rid of the skeleton by just clicking on the skeleton and going to the skeleton key and just select some other layer just so it gets out of the way. And so I want to bake this texture onto the actual mesh. So I'm going to go into this and then hit vertex just so I could see the result. Now if you installed the add-on, bake the vertexes here. I'm going to choose a file. It's hard to see what file to choose, so you could go into texture paint just to see what file might work. File 1 is not it. Looks like transfer file 20 is the name of the file. So I'm going to click that. Make sure my model is selected and hit bake, and then wait for it to run. Once it's done, depending on how detailed your model was, would decide how well it'll look, because since it's baking the texture onto the vertices, if there's not a lot of vertices, then there won't be a lot of detail in the color. If you go to edit mode, it's pretty detailed, and so the texture, the baking looks pretty good. If you have a very low poly model but a very high detailed texture, you might have to actually click the model in edit mode, everything selected, edges, and go to subdivide to add more detail. We don't want to do that because there's already a lot of detail. We're going to have to actually probably remove detail. But before we do that, we're going to have to split up each piece into its separate parts to be animated by the bones. So one easy way that you can do that is by going into object data properties, and you have vertex groups, and these vertex groups, depending on the model that you imported, when you go into edit mode and you select, it'll select that vertex group. Now for example, if I go to zombie head and I first deselect and then hit select, it's selecting the head. Now it's not selecting everything, So there's probably other things. Left eye you could select, right eye select, zombie jaw select, tongue, tongue tip, upper lip, right lip. Then when you're sure you have everything selected, which it seems that it has other things selected here. So I'm going to go into select box. I'm going to hit Alt Z just to see through. And I'm going to hold Control just to go over what I don't want. Make sure it's only the head. And then hit P, selection. And that put it on a separate object. We're going to do that for each part. So you could use this here to help you out, or you could just eyeball it and just select the hands, P, selection, and do this for each body part. Now, you might want to bring back the rig. On default visuals, just hold shift and click this just so it hides it. You'll see these green points. This is where the bones are going to, the joints, where the model is going to bend, things like that. So when we go back to the object, now in my case, when I separated the models, they were being added to the default visuals. So I'm going to have to get them out. So I'm going to select all of them. Hit M, scene collection. It should not be in there. Now I'm going to hide the default visuals. Hit Alt Z just to view the model without seeing through it. Looks fine. Hit Alt Z, and I'm going to go back to the model. Hit Tab to go to edit mode. I'm going to continue just eyeballing it. You could be a little bit more careful if you want. So now that I have everything selected, it's in its own object. It's currently down here. I might want to, I think it's best to do a save and a save as. I'll name it zombie separated. This way I just have a backup, because we're going to start lowering the quality because it's too high poly probably. So in case we mess something up, it's nice to be able to go back to the higher quality. So I'm going to go up here to custom visuals. I'm going to hold shift and click that screen and show this. It's important to not rename these and to not move them. Do not, they should be zeroed out, otherwise it's not going to look right in game. I'm going to go to each of these, click the head for example, go up, find the head, I'm hold control, click, holding control, press J, now it's combined. And I'm going to do that for each piece. So here's the left hand, I'm going to find the left hand, hold control, click, hold control, J, and it'll join it. In the end, you'll be left with that empty object because you already took everything out, so you could just delete that. And now you have the mesh attached to the bones. If you go to animation, pose mode, make sure in case you have this view here, click this icon, go to view layer, and then just move these out of the way. Select the rig, the MeecheenMe rig, go to pose mode, And if you start moving things around, you could hit a T to show some of these, and it should move around with the body. Now you'll notice that this is kind of see-through. If I go back to the layout, in game you'll actually be able to see through this. So if you want to fix this, then first you could go to animation, just hit A, then Alt G, Alt R, just so it resets everything. Go back to object mode, layout. So here we have the hand. We hold Shift H, go to edit mode, select the edges. You might also want to clean up by just deleting those out of edges. Hold Alt, hit the edge, Shift, set the edge. Everything should be good. Face, fill, and you'll notice it's not the same color. So when you do this, or whenever you add stuff, it's not gonna have the color from the baking. You go to vertex paint, click this, get the picker, select that, then just start painting. It's good enough. Alt H to bring everything back. And now when you bend it, you won't see through it, and it'll have a decent color that matches. So now that everything is separated and we have it looking how we want, we have to now make sure that it's not over the poly count. Currently the max vertices and triangles allowed for each piece is 500 vertices, 1000 triangles. If you say click on the head, Shift H to just show it, down here you'll see some things about it, and it's 5,000 triangles, over 5,000, over 3,000 vertices. The triangle count is actually probably wrong. It's in game. This is actually probably 3 times this. So you're gonna need to use something called decimator. So click on the head, go to the wrench to add a modifier, go to decimate, and now this is where we're going to start to automatically reducing the quality to lower the poly count. And you could see that it won't necessarily look that great. So this is the automatic way. There are different, you could try planar by doing the limit to give different results, but I'm going to use collapse, and when I lower it, I'm going to be looking down here, try to aim for around 333 triangles, since the max is 1000 and this is usually 3 times less. And if you notice that there are things, for example, you might not care so much about the teeth and you might prefer the face to have more detail than the teeth. So if you go to edit mode, and if you go to the teeth, you could delete them, or you could separate them into a separate object and decimate that separately. This way it won't affect the head. Well, another way you could do it is remember those vertex groups that we had. So sometimes you might get lucky and there might already be vertices assigned to just the teeth or something. In our case, we're not that lucky. The jaw is there and the head has the upper teeth. But in order to preserve quality in other places of your model, for example, the eyes are usually very high in detail. So we have the eyes separated and easily selectable from here. So I'm going to select the left eye, select the right eye, and I'm going to hit P. So now they're separated. With the eye selected, I'm going to decimate just the eyes. This is probably good enough. Now at this point you might want to duplicate this object, put it somewhere else just so you have the high quality version saved. In my case, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to hit apply. Then I need to join it back to the model, but before I join it back, I want to now lower the model quality. So I'm going to lower that now. I'm looking down here. You can see it needs to be lowered a lot. So it's still too much. I think we need to remove more detail still. I need to get rid of these teeth. If you can't zoom in too close, you could press N, go to view, look for the camera up here, clip start, make it like a 0.01. This way you'll be able to zoom in much closer. So I decided to just get rid of the teeth completely. I filled it in with this, and so now I'm gonna, this is the teeth, I'm just gonna delete it. It has to be visible first before you can delete it, so make sure you make it visible. Now the eyes, I'm going to join them with the head. So I'm going to first apply this decimator. Again, when you're applying decimators, you might want to make backups or copies of the object before you do it. Hit apply. Because the triangle count is 325, I might lower it a little bit more. The eyes, hit the Control J. Best we're going to get probably. So now I'm going to do that for every body piece. Try to keep it down at 333 maximum. That still might need to make it lower, but it's a good place to start. So I'll do one more on camera. I'll hit the body. Shift H to only show it. Add modifier, decimate. Let's see how low we can get it without needing to touch anything. 313, get it more. 329, and that's pretty good. So you don't have to apply it. You could just keep it. It's only when you're joining with it that I probably have to apply it. So we could just keep this. We don't have to make a duplicate or anything. I'll hit Alt H, and I'm going to do that for the rest of the body. So this is the result. In case you want to get rid of the skeleton, just click the skeleton, click a different layer, and it's all right. The head was the big flaw. You could see here, it's see-through. That's by design. Goes through the body. But you see these little squares, and these will be visible in game. So if you want, you might want to cover these. So I'm just gonna go into edit mode of this body. I'm gonna go to faces. Might select a circle, select a couple of faces, and I'll just kind of drag them out. Alright, so that's hidden. There are other spots here. So So since we're not supposed to move these, we could still move by going to edit mode, selecting the models. You can select multiple models at once. You can go to edit mode. I'm going to hit tab. I'm going to hit A so it selects everything, and then I'll be able to move just so they can cover it more. You might want to just maybe drag this out a bit just to help cover it. Now, it's important to keep in mind that these squares are where the model is going to bend. So that means the hand's going to bend here. We want this to bend from here. So what we're going to have to do is move this, and then we'll select this piece, and we'll drag it over. Hit Alt Z so you can select things that you don't see. We'll just kind of drag it. The coloring might not look great. We need to do the same thing for this side. Alternatively, when we before we separated, we could have scaled the model wider, because you could see this also we would want to move. But since we didn't do that, we'll just move it this way. Now I actually made the mistake of moving the model, the object itself. I have to zero that out. Go into edit mode, A, select all, and then move it. All these should be zeroed out. Otherwise, when you bring it in game, it's going to zero it out, and then it's going to be not in the right position. So the legs, I'm going to try to separate it a bit. The top is probably fine, but down here, I might want to just move everything over. So actually, I'm going to select one side, go to edit mode, hit A, and just move things over a little bit. I'll do the same thing for the other side. Body looks weird here now too. So you could go into edit mode and just kind of move things over if you want. Select the edges. Try to select an edge loop like that. And I'll just maybe drag it out a bit. Select the edge on top. If it's hard to see, then just get off vertex and go to object. Be much easier to see. So I'd say that's good enough. Remember to save every now and then. So we're going to try to export it now. Go to File. Well, before you do that, it's best to select MeecheenMe rig, right click, select hierarchy, then go to File, Export, FBX, hit selected objects only. In apply scaling, do FBX all. In armature, do Z axis for the primary bone axis, and then hit export. Once it's done, you could go to where it was exported. I have it here. Now you could click, drag it into Unity, let it import. So once it's imported, you could select it. We're not dealing with animations, but when you are dealing with animations, you want to change this to legacy and then hit apply, but we don't need to do that because we're not animating yet. So the model might look a little weird here. That's just due to the importer or something. You could drag it in here, go to tools, play custom things, fix rig, and then it should look fine. You might not see the texture. That's because Unity doesn't show the vertex color by default. So that's fine. You don't have to do this fix rig thing. It's only if you want to see it in here. It's fine if it looks bad. But so you could go to tools, play custom things, create a window. You could either drag this in here or you could drag this in here, it doesn't matter. Hit set body, and you can see it failed. It said the upper leg mesh has too many triangles. So the current count is 1167. So we need now go to the upper leg, the upper right leg. See if we could reduce it. Yeah, so I accidentally kept it at 389. It should be 333 or less. We'll just keep it there. Should be good. Let's export it again. Select this, select hierarchy, file, export, FBX, make sure selected objects, FBX all, armature, Z is forward. We'll overwrite our other save. Once it's saved, you could drag it in again, but when you drag it in, it's going to make a duplicate. So instead, this time, I want it to overwrite it when it's in Unity. So I'm going to just right click, click Show in Explorer. My zombie's in there. I'm going to copy, paste, copy and replace. Now when I go into Unity, I'll let it import. Once it's imported, I'll clear the console, go back to Tools, create a window. I'll just drag it in. Set body, got no warnings, and I could see everything is set in here. It's a good sign. I'll do save body. I'll save it where we were working. I'll save it in here. I'm going to create a folder. You should create it, the folder, and name it what you want it to be named in game. So I'm just going to name this Zombie Man. I'm going to select, and it's saved. Now, if you don't see MeecheenMe, or if you don't see any of these folders here, you might not see custom, you might not see model. You could either create it yourself or start the game once, and then it should create those folders automatically. And then you could just paste it in here. So once it's in there, you don't have to restart the game or anything. You just have to click and reset it, and you'll see it here. You can drag it here and you have your model in game. So taking a ready-made set and making it your custom model can take some time, but it should, once you get used to it, you'll get faster at it. And it also depends on the model that you take in. If it's a very detailed model, it'd be difficult to make it look good or to break it apart. You'll also have to keep in mind that if you have something that has like a dress or something that's supposed to hang over the legs and whatever, you might want to remove it completely. So depending on your model, you might need to remove certain things. Even this model, I had to separate the body from the weapon and decimate the weapons a lot, just so I wouldn't lose too much detail in the body. Then I later connected them back together. And so those are things you need to keep in mind when trying to keep detail in important areas and just get rid of the detail in other areas. The eyes was taking a lot of detail, and I got rid of the eyes and put in something very simple because you could hardly see the eyes anyways. So just keep those things in mind and don't try to be too perfect. You can see I didn't even bother making it so you don't see through. You can do it. I'll probably go in and edit later, but even if you don't, as long as the general idea is there, then I don't think people would care too much. So hopefully it's not that difficult to make custom things. Hopefully make better tools in the future. Let me know if you have any problems on the Discord or wherever you can reach me, and I'll see you later.